Welcome back, ladies and gents. We have episode number 7 coming at you. This is a college football episode. You know, we had championship football week, all the conference title games last week, and let's just say it did not disappoint. We're going to get to the old debacle of the selection show later. Trust me. Wow. I mean, a lot of stuff going on around there. Let's get right into it. Recap of the week. We've got first on the list, Texas, Oklahoma State in the Big 12 title game. This game went about as I thought it would go. Oklahoma State, I think, is a very inferior team to Texas. I think Texas is just more talented. Quinn Ewers, I mean, this guy. I mean, he was on roids or something. He's taking crack. I don't know. Fucking shooting something up. Quinn Ewers, 35 for 46, 452 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. Now, you look at me and say, hey, Caleb, come on, what are we doing? We have any coverage? No. If you watch the game, it was a freaking shootout. Absolute shootout. It's just Oklahoma State really didn't partake in that. They only scored 21 points. Alan Bowman, the quarterback for Oklahoma State, 22 for 38, 250 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. And here is the biggest surprise of the evening. Ollie Gordon III, 13 carries, 34 yards. I mean, wow. Just wow. The Texas D-line, the Texas front 7 absolutely shut him down. It wasn't just him he shut down. They shut down the run game completely. There was no versatility in the play calling. They tried to run the ball. They couldn't run the ball. Unbelievable. They shoved it right up their ass. Keelan Robinson, I'm pretty sure. I know he's not the starter. The starter, Jonathan Brooks, got hurt, and I know Baxter is the better one of the two. But, I mean, either way, this Robinson kid had 4 carries, 75 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I think he might be the third string. And they've got this guy as a third string. That's insane, the depth that Texas has. Had an absolute day. Guy went on the field and just said, get out of my way. Get the fuck out of the way. Jatavion Sanders. Guy is one of the better tight ends. Now, granted, there's a gap here. Brock Bowers, I think Jatavion's right there, but he's slowly closing that gap if he keeps playing like that. 8 receptions, 105 yards, and a tug. Guy played outrageous. Also, on the offensive side of the ball, again for Texas, A.D. Mitchell. Once again doing his thing, the former Georgia Bulldog. 6 receptions, 109, and 1 touchdown. He comes from Georgia, man. He's just an animal. He's an animal. He's big, he's tall, he can run. He's got great hands. He makes catches that a lot of other receivers cannot make. He's unbelievable. Can't wait to see this Texas offense in the playoff versus a, let's call it, mediocre Washington defense. I think that one's going to be a high-scoring affair. We'll get to that in a minute. Rashad Owens. Maybe it's Rashad. I don't know. Rashad Owens, the wide receiver for Oklahoma State, had a good game for himself as well. 4 receptions, 85 yards, and 2 touchdowns for the young man. But it was not enough to overcome the number 7 team in the country. 49-21 your final score. They absolutely rolled them. I think it was a 1-possession game for about 2 minutes, maybe 3. And then Texas just started pulling away. Next on the list, Oregon-Washington. This game happened Friday. First conference championship of the Power 5 of the week. And it did not disappoint. It was an absolute thriller. Washington controlled the game for most of it. Most of the game they controlled Oregon. I think I saw a stat when I was watching the game. It said Washington has like 8 first downs and Oregon has 5 plays in total, which you really don't see that from Washington's defense. I mean, they're god-awful. They play horrible. They just give up so many points. They're lucky they have probably one of the best offenses in the country behind them with Penix, Jalen Johnson, Rome, what's his name? O'Duns, I'm going to say. I mean, and even Jalen McMillan came out, and Jalen McMillan outplayed Rome, and Rome is a top 4, top 3 wide receiver in this year's draft, if he so wants to go. Well, let's get into it. Michael Penix solidifying himself as a Heisman. He's going to be going to New York for the ceremony. 27 for 39, 319, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this Heisman voting is going to get interesting. You have Bo Nix, you have Michael Penix, you have Jalen Daniels, and you got Marvin Harrison sneaking in there. He's a great player. I don't think he wins. Like I've been saying, I think it should be Jalen Daniels. He's the best player in the country right now. I don't care about his record. He can't control how his defense plays. And his defense is so fucking terrible. They are god-awful. God-awful. They give up like 90 points a game. Now that is exaggerating, but they damn near probably do. Bo Nix. 21 for 34, 239, and 3 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Poor guy didn't even get a chance to go win the game. I mean, I'm watching it. He's just sitting there on the sideline, and it's hard to watch. And I mean, it's real tough to lose that game. They were favored as the lower-ranked team. They were favored to go and win that game. And they just didn't play well in the first half. They kind of picked it up in the second half. But in the first half, they kind of put themselves in a hole, and they just couldn't dig themselves out of it. And that's where you're left with. Dylan Johnson, I mean, this offense going into the Sugar Bowl, I think, if I'm not mistaken there, I think it's the Sugar Bowl. It's in New Orleans, so I think it might be the Sugar Bowl. I mean, this offense is going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem for Texas or whoever plays them. The offense is always going to be a problem. They're so dynamic. They have now. I see they have 2 wide receivers that can get it done. They've got Michael Penix, so you got to worry about throwing the football and running the football. Guy has legs and he can outrun you. He's got the arm. We've all seen the arm and the accuracy. You got Dylan Johnson, who runs like a bull, just running over guys, making you miss. I mean, you got Rome. Rome over here is making acrobatic catches that I didn't freaking know the body could torque and move like that. But let's get back to the stats here. Dylan Johnson, 28 carries, 152 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Let me read that again. 28 carries, 152 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Now, if you watched the last college football episode, you know I got this one wrong. I said Oregon was going to win. Nor did I know that Washington's defense would turn into Georgia's. I did not know that. They played unbelievable. We're going to go to Jalen McMillan. 9 receptions, 131 yards. Guy was going off. I've heard the name, but I didn't really know who he was. I know who he is now. Guy's an animal. Rome, one of your top wide receiver prospects, next to Coleman out of FSU. Whoa, FSU? FSU. Got that right. I thought I said it wrong there for a minute. And then you got Marvin Harrison out of freaking Ohio State. And you got the LSU wide receiver. I don't know why his name is slipping my mind, but he's outrageous. He's one of the top wide receivers in the country. And I think A.D. Mitchell should be put into that conversation as well. This guy has done nothing but put up numbers all year. I think his name should be put in that conversation of one of the best wide receivers in the country. Because from what I'm looking at and from a guy who has watched him play in the Big 12 this year as an OU fan, the guy is just unbelievable. He's tall, he's lanky. He kind of the build reminds me of Randy Moss. Just really athletic, can run, can catch, can do it all at the wide receiver position. Rome, 8 receptions, 102. Your receivers are combining for almost 250 yards total. And that's just 2 of them. Your final score here, 34-31 Washington. Oregon scored late. Washington got the ball, got that pivotal first down by throwing it. Don't know why they threw it, but it worked. And then they just ran the clock out. So 34-31 Washington, and that's your game. Washington Pac-12 champs, and they punched their ticket to the playoff. Florida State, Louisville. Now, trust me, we'll get into this whole debacle later. Florida State versus Louisville. I mean, this was the late game for Saturday, including Michigan, Iowa. The 2 late games were barn burners. If you don't know, that is absolutely fucking sarcasm. They sucked. If you like defense, watch it. Not really Michigan, Iowa. It was just bad. Just like we expected. It was bad. Florida State, Louisville was just, golly, man. Wow. Jake Plummer. Guy needs to go be a plumber after this game. Oh, my God. It's hard to watch somebody like Jake Plummer throw the pigskin around. I mean, you think a janitor could do it. You think you could go pick up a guy from fucking Walmart to throw it around. I mean, that's what FSU did. Brock Glenn? Who the fuck is that? Let's get back to Jake Plummer here. 14 for 36. 14 completions out of 36 throws for 111 yards and an interception. You would have done better just running the ball every play than that. Okay? Brock Glenn, he has an even worse stat line, but I'm going to give him a little leeway. He's a third stringer. Oh, God, it pains me to read this off. 8 for 21. Sorry, God, it hurts. 55 yards in 4 quarters of football, might I add. He did not get hurt. 4 quarters of football. Oh, my Lord. That's 60 minutes of football. And you can't get more than 100 yards? Oh, my Lord. I'm going to attempt to say this name. Lawrence Toafia, the running back for Florida State, 10 carries, 118 yards, and a touchdown. Thank God he showed up, or Florida State would not have been even close. You didn't have a chance getting in the playoffs if you weren't there. And then Braden Fisk. I think he's in the transfer portal. I know I did see a DN from Florida State go to the transfer portal. It might be him. I think he's the MVP of this game. 5 solo tackles and 3 sacks by himself. 3 whole sacks by himself. Unbelievable. FSU wins 16-6. Wow. Barn burner. If you wanted offense, you should have gone to that game. Unbelievable offense. Fuck. Oh, now we're going to get on to the other one. Michigan, Iowa. Now, if you expected Iowa to score a minimum of 3 points, as I did, nope, you're wrong. They don't score shit. That offensive coordinator is gone and out. What? J.J. McCarthy had a pretty good day. 22 for 31, 47. Had a good enough day to get the fucking job done. Blake Corum had a great day as well. 16 carries, 52 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Now, here's the kicker. Iowa had 3 turnovers. All 3 were fumbles, and 2 of them were by the quarterback of Iowa. That's not what you want. Your final score, 26-0 Michigan. Now, Michigan going to the playoffs. They have won their 3rd straight Big Ten title. They have beat Ohio State for the 3rd straight year. Can they get over the hump of actually winning a playoff game? That is the question we will all be asking ourselves. As you know, they lost to Georgia their first year. Then they lose to the underdog TCU. And then now we're here. Now we're here in their 4th straight year going to the playoff, and you have to play an absolute gauntlet named Alabama. An absolute monster in Alabama. I don't know if they can get it done. Right now, they are favorites by 1.5 points. If I were you, I would go bet Alabama money line. Not because I think Alabama's going to win, because it's great value. It is unbelievable value to go take Alabama money line. I guarantee you. Speaking of Alabama, the best game of the day of Saturday, probably Oregon, Washington, and Georgia, Alabama are probably up there for best game of the championship week. Carson Beck had a great day. 21 for 29, 243 yards. I mean, it was a pretty classic SEC matchup. Good defense, had some big plays here and there. Had a controversial play with Isaiah Bond. Was it a catch? Was it not? Let me know in the comments whether you think it was or not. I don't know. A lot of people say it wasn't a catch. Jalen Milroe continuing to prove himself as an unbelievable quarterback. And guess what, folks? He's coming back next year. He's coming back to Alabama next year. And if he plays like this, like he did this season, the late stretch of the season, I would not be surprised if you see a unanimous Heisman vote for that guy right there. Because it's unbelievable what he does. 13 for 23, 192, and 2 touchdowns. Now, the knock on Jalen Milroe is that he's a runner. He gets the same knock Lamar did. He's a runner. Put him in running back. He can throw the freaking pigskin, guys. He can throw it. He's showing you right here. 192, I know it's not 300 yards and 4 tugs like Quinn Ewers, okay? But, I mean, it's Jalen Milroe playing a very, very, very good Georgia defense. Isaiah Bond, speak of the devil. 5 receptions, 79 yards, no touchdowns for him. Was it a catch? We don't know. We don't know. Now, Carson Beck had a crucial fumble, only turnover of the game. Alabama recovers, and yet here we stand. 27-24. Now, there was a field goal, like I just read off. Backstory, 27-24. If you can do math correctly, that's a 3-point win for Alabama. Now, Georgia in field goal range. Penalty knocks them back a few yards. I think it was a false start, something like that on the lines of that. They kick it again. They miss. I mean, that could have been the deciding factor of the game. We could have saw an OT. We could have saw something. They could have won the game outright if they make that field goal tie. A little momentum. But yet here we are. Carson Beck's ugly ass is playing in the Orange Bowl. Jalen Milroe in the playoffs. 27-24, your final score in Georgia, in Atlanta. Now, let's get to the obvious problem here with the playoff. Okay? If you don't know or if you live under a rock, Michigan number 1, Washington number 2, Texas 3, Alabama 4. Now, if you were in a coma for the last couple of weeks, you'd say, oh, well, if FSU went 13-0 and won the ACC title, they should have been in. What happened? Okay, well, you missed in a few things. Now, let's get to Florida State really quick. I'll make a case for Florida State being in. Granted, it's a pretty obvious one. They're undefeated, and they are a conference champ. It's the first ever time that one of those teams, 13-0, and won a championship, is not in. You could say it's outrageous, and it is outrageous, okay? So, we look at this from a logical standpoint. You lose your starting quarterback. You lose your second string quarterback. You're not the same team, and the committee said it. The injury, we will take injuries into account. Now you got Alabama. Alabama won the SEC, beat the number 1 team in the country, has other ranked wins. They've looked amazing. They've looked incredible. You can't leave an SEC champ out of the 4-team playoff. You can't. It's just not how it goes. And we've said this. I've said this. A lot of other people have said this. We all knew that it was going to be 2 teams that were heartbroken when this came out. There were 4 teams vying for those spots. Alabama, Texas, Florida State, and wait, am I missing one there? Alabama, Florida State, and Georgia. No. Maybe Georgia too. Yeah, Georgia, sure. You have to put Texas in. They're 13 or 12-1. Big 12 champ. Got to put them in. Got to put Washington in, Pac-12 champ, or Oregon, whichever one you want. Whoever won the Pac-12, they're in. You got to put Michigan in, undefeated Big Ten champ. Have to put them in. So that leaves you with 1 spot with 3 teams. Georgia, who was ranked number 1 for the majority of the year, who in my opinion is still a top 4 team. FSU with a 3rd-string quarterback who's 13-0 and won a conference championship, or an SEC champ who's 12-1, who continues to look better. I think they got it right. I think they did. Because here's why. Florida State, you lose your quarterback. Now, granted, you're still 13-0. Doesn't matter. You guys are thinking, well, we deserve it. We deserve it. No, you fucking don't, you dumbasses. You don't deserve it. You're 13-0. You're ACC champ. You want a fucking cookie? We'll give you a medal. We'll give you a fucking medal for it. You know what you can do with that ACC championship? You can shove it up your ass is what you can do. Because the goal of the playoff is to put the 4 best teams. 4. You'll get your chance when it's a 12 team. And a lot of other people will get their chance. 4 teams. 4. Texas has to be there. Washington has to be there. And Michigan has to be there. You can make an argument for Georgia being 4. And maybe Texas comes out or Washington comes out. Because Georgia's only loss is to an SEC champ. But Texas beat the SEC champ at home in Tuscaloosa. So Florida State fans, petition it. Do whatever the fuck you want. Because when the Orange Bowl comes up and you guys get stomped 90-0, nobody will remember that year. You're going to get stomped, curb stomped, freaking annihilated by Georgia. No, we're 2-0 for SEC teams. You know who the SEC teams you beat are? Florida, who I don't even know if made a bowl game. If so, they barely scratched through. And LSU, who continued their top 15? Great. But after they lost to you, they continuously got worse. Florida State fans need to stop their bitching and whining and get on with it. Go find you a quarterback to replace Jordan Travis because Glenn ain't it. I promised you that. Okay, now we got that ran out of the way. Transfer portal. Like I mentioned before, notable names include the Florida State DN who had a great game. Now, I mean, this is the most quarterbacks I've seen in the transfer portal in a long time. Let's get into it. Kyle McCord out of Ohio State. Also from Ohio State, Julian Fleming, the wide receiver, the number 2 there, behind Marvin Harrison, are in the transfer portal. Ohio State might be falling apart here. Dylan Gabriel from Oklahoma going in the transfer portal, and as of maybe yesterday or 2 days ago, he has been confirmed to go to Oregon for more than likely a bucket load. Probably no, not that, a freaking 18-wheeler load of cash. Hope he does great there. Cam Ward of Washington State. I've heard rumors of Cam Ward maybe going to Ohio State and replacing Kyle McCord. Dante Moore, the freshman in the class of the Jackson Arnold, the Archie Manning, the what's that kid's name that went to Tennessee in that really great quarterback class in the transfer portal now. Riley Leonard from Duke. After the Duke coach left, he's out and into the transfer portal. Tyler Van Dyke in the transfer portal. Will Howard out of Kansas State, by the way. Tyler Van Dyke goes to Miami. Not anymore. Will Rogers from Mississippi State. Jeff Lebby in at Mississippi State. Guess he doesn't want to stay there. He's in the transfer portal. DJ Ungilele. Probably not saying that right. But Oregon State quarterback now in the transfer portal. A lot of these, I think, have to do with coaching changes. Oregon State, definitely. He's going to Michigan State. Mississippi State, Jeff Lebby. Kansas State, I think he's still staying. Miami, I think he's staying. Duke left. UCLA, I think, staying. Washington State, I think, is still staying. Oklahoma is still staying. And Ohio State. So a few of them have coaching changes, which I understand. Some of them just want to get out of there and maybe go make some money. Now, New Year's 6 Bowls have been announced. They were announced yesterday or 2 days ago. We will get to the other bowls in a later date, but these are the main ones we're looking at. There's a lot of other good bowls outside the New Year's 6. First, in the Cotton Bowl, Missouri, Ohio State. If I had to pick a winner there, I like Missouri in that one. McCord's not there. Fleming's not there. I don't know if Harrison's going to play. I've got Missouri winning that one. Ole Miss, Penn State. I like Penn State's defense versus Ole Miss. I'm going to take Penn State. Georgia, FSU. I think Ole Miss, Penn State's the Peach Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. Georgia, FSU. Orange Bowl, like I said. Give me them dogs by 50. What's that coming down the track? Yeah, you damn right. Go dogs in that one. Shut FSU up. In the Orange Bowl, in the Fiesta Bowl, we've got Liberty. Liberty, who I think are undefeated, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe undefeated, maybe 12-1. Versus Oregon. We'll see if Bo Nix stays and doesn't opt out of it. Michigan. Now, we have the Sugar Bowl, Texas, Washington. I think the line is 4.5. Now, ladies and gents, I want to take Washington plus the points, but I don't know. This is, I think, is going to be a good game, Texas-Washington. I'm going to take Texas. I'm going to be safe. I'm going to take the safe bet there. Take Texas. My mind might change. Got a long way to go. Michigan, Alabama in the Rose Bowl, I think. Yeah, Rose Bowl. Give me Alabama. Give me the Tide. Roll Tide, roll. Yeah, great games going on there. FSU could suck it. Aaron Rodgers as well, buddy. Stick to the Jets, bro. Come on. I know you love Florida State, your childhood team. Shut the hell up. Come on. Come on. We all know that they shouldn't have gotten in. Also this week, not New Year's 6, this week, you could say last regular season game of the year for college football, which is always sad. We have Navy Army, one of the biggest rivalries in the sport, one of the oldest rivalries in the sport. They're going to face off. I think they have the same record. I think they're both 6-5, if I'm not wrong there. You know, it's going to be a good game. I think we always have good games when we watch Army Navy. So, yeah, we'll get into that next week. Next week we will have a we'll go over all of the bowl games, the good ones, maybe some other interesting matchups. We'll go over them, and then we'll get ready for some great bowl games. Now, want to run something by y'all as the viewers. For these New Year's 6 bowls, I'm thinking about live streaming on Instagram, just watching them, giving y'all feedback. Y'all can talk while I'll answer some questions. Thinking about doing a live stream. If y'all want to do that, comment, like, whatever. I might do it, so I'm still thinking about it, but we might do a live stream. Yeah. So, that's episode 7 for you. Great week of college football we had. I think we're going to have great bowl games. See y'all in the next one.